But
who produced Rise and Fall?
Clive Langer and Alan Winstanley, who did all the main Madness albums. So they really struck up a good relationship with them, and I think they did their, they were good, great producers, I think.
When you think of Stiff Records and we talk about different artists that were on Stiff Records, my understanding is that in most cases, Stiff were known for doing just that, stiffing their artists on the money. Tracey Ullman definitely documented it. I'm sure that the Belle Stars got a rough deal. Neil, did you have any views on the financial dealings of Stiff Records? Had you heard anything of that nature?
Madness were a very important band for them, because I would imagine they would, apart from, obviously they had Elvis Costello early on, but lost him pretty quickly, and the Damned as well, and then they hit lucky with Ian Jury, but obviously then the hits dried up for him. So I think Madness definitely saved them, but I can imagine they were struggling financially in that kind of period. Kind of mid-79. But then again, they still had Ian Jury then, I suppose. But yeah, I can imagine some of the acts perhaps got a sort of rough deal compared to some of the others, Although the ones you mentioned all did pretty well for a short time, didn't they? I mean, Tracey Ullman had at least three top tens, or two top tens.
Three, yeah. To kind of come to these last two tracks again, which I just wanted to stick with what I knew, and I wanted to kind of hand over to you on the things that weren't resonating with me. You're somebody that's lived with this album. Talk to me about Calling Cards and Are You Coming With Me?
Are You Coming With Me, I think, is another of my favourites from the album. Whether it was back then, I can't quite remember. I remember just thinking it was a bit of a downbeat song, because it's the second to last track on the album, so it's the one before Madness Is All in the Mind. But yeah, I do like it a lot now. It's another one with sort of strange kind of time signatures going on, but mainly in the chorus with this one. Calling Cards, I sort of thought that sounded a little bit novelty back then in 1982, but I still liked it. It's very catchy. Name checks a lot of the banks in there. Some of them like no longer with us, like William and Glyn's get a mention in there, but Barclays is in there, and in fact it ended up as the B-side of It Must Be Love in America, because that came out as a single later. I think it came out as a single after Our House and was a minor hit. In fact, actually, yeah, that's just reminded me, Rise and Fall was never released in the States as an album. And I'm not sure why, whether they just didn't regard it as Madness sounding enough. I mean, they did put out a compilation instead called Madness with some of the tracks from Rise and Fall on it, combined with some of the earlier hits.
That was a similar thing that they'd done with Howard Jones. Me and the director were talking where, he would give me a track listing of this album that was called Dream Into Action, and it had half of Human's Lib on it. But that's because they combined the tracks for Howard Jones. So I think that was, a marketing thing where they tried to...
Many greatest hits.
Yeah, exactly. Basically sort of squeeze the good parts out of both albums and combine them onto one, hoping that the audience would bite, which in some cases they did. So, in summation of Madness, The Rise and Fall, it was an interesting experience. Madness, to me, were my school bullies' favourite band. They were a band that people that liked to pick on me enjoyed. So my relationship with Madness is a little standoffish, but I don't dislike them, and I think that they were really important to the British pop scene, and I was determined not to pan this album because I actually like Madness as a group, and I think what they were trying to do was to be entertaining to a very specific group, which to me was boys that were at school. This album, however, was a departure. It was something that was looking for a more ambitious notch in their career. I'm not sure that it quite made the cut from the short experience that I had with it. My final grade for The Rise and Fall by Madness is 66%.
Okay, well, as I was saying before, it's difficult for me because I've lived with this album since I was 10 years old, and I did go through a phase of not listening to it too much because I was getting into other types of music, getting more into the indie scene, and you know, Madness just seemed like something from the past. But as time went on, I did, you know, started to listen back to it again, and I have played it a lot in the last 15 years or so. It's interesting you were saying about you saw them as the band that the school bullies like, because I was picked on quite a lot at school, but I always liked Madness, and I always found that other people liked other music that I didn't like. So, I mean, that was more later when I liked the Smiths and Echo and the Bunnymen, but with Madness, I never saw it as that. I think a lot of other people were sort of into very poppy things that I wasn't into. And, but yeah, it's an album I've lived with since I was 10, and I can still listen to it. And there's maybe one or two bits that haven't stood the test of time, but on the whole, I think it's a great album, and I'd probably give it 98%.
98% from Neil Barker, plus 66% from me, I believe comes to 164, which means that Rise and Fall as a joint review, 82%. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, recommend it to friends, post comments. Also, if you have an album that you'd like to hear reviewed, we welcome your requests.